Hello and welcome to another Lamp Bible Study. My name is James, your host and Bible reader for Lamp Bible Study. So welcome back, and I hope that everything's going well with you, and if not, you made it to another Lamp Bible Study. So welcome. I hope and pray that we continue to seek the Lord's wisdom through his holy word together. And so we have a lot to cover today. We are currently going to pick back up in 2 Kings chapter 11, and I'm reading from an NIV Collegiate Bible. So let's get started with the word today, because there's quite a bit that we have to go over. So let's get started. Azaria and Joash. When Azaria, the mother of Azaria, saw that her son was dead, she proceeded to destroy the whole royal family. But Jehosheba, the daughter of King Joram and sister of Azaria, took Joash, son of Azaria, and stole him away from among the royal princes, who were about to be murdered. She put him and his nurse in a bedroom to hide him from Azaria, so he was not killed. He remained hidden with his nurse at the temple of the Lord for 6 years while Azaria ruled the land. So there's a lot of these names here. If you know how to correctly pronounce, if you know how to correctly, I can tongue-tie today, correctly pronounce the correct pronunciation. I swear this is like gonna be one of those funny films. But if you do know how they are supposed to be said, say them along with us. If you know how to type them in the comments, and I thank you. Let's continue to read. In the 7th year, Jehoiada sent for the commanders of units of 100, the Karites and the guards, and had them brought to him at the temple of the Lord. He made a covenant with them and put them under oath at the temple of the Lord. Then he showed them the king's son. He commanded them, saying, "This is what you are to do. You are in the 3 companies that are going on duty on the Sabbath, a third of you guarding the royal palace, a third at the Surgate, and a third at the gate behind the guard, who take turns guarding the temple. And you, who are in the other 2 companies that normally go off Sabbath duty, are all to guard the temple for the king. Station yourself around the king, each man with his weapon in his hand. Anyone who approaches your ranks must be put to death. Stay close to the king wherever he goes." So just a quick reminder, we are in 2 Kings, and literally Israel has pretty much fallen away. So there are still people that worship the Lord, but not everybody. In fact, ruler after ruler in Israel has came about and was worshiping the Baals and all the other things, basically angering the Lord. And so we're at a point where everybody's in it for power, and so is this woman. She wanted Azaria, she wanted to rule, and she didn't want to be questioned. I believe it's Azaria, because she wanted to also have the other princes or the other people killed. And so she didn't want anybody to be in rulership beside herself for the time being. And so it's kind of one of those times where basically everybody just was in it for themselves and wanted power. And so let's continue to read. The commanders of units of 100 did just as Jehoiada the priest ordered. Each one took his men, those who were going on duty on the Sabbath and those who were going off duty, and came to Jehoiada the priest. Then he gave the commanders the spears and shields that had belonged to King David and that were in the temple of the Lord. The guards, each with his weapon in his hand, stationed themselves around the king near the altar in the temple, from the south side to the north side of the temple. So the priest of the Lord, knew that what Azaria was doing was wrong, and so basically they stole away one of the princes so that he would be able to grow up, right, and be able to rule, because he was part of the royal lineage. And here we are seeing that there's a reason for it, and there's going to be a reason why this child is being protected and was brought to the Lord's temple. And so, just reading over this portion, bringing past to present, when things are going kind of weird in our lives, right? And we notice that things we may look around and terrible things may be happening to others, but they may not be happening to us. That can happen. That can happen to anybody. And those are things that we can look at as blessings from the Lord, and take note and thank the Lord if you're seeing, if you're noticing things, because your blessing, you can also help others. Take the time to help others. As we can see, they stole the child away, and now they're protecting him. And so you can also utilize that blessing to help others, and pray about it, and seek the Lord's counsel according to what things are going on. Sometimes it may not be something immediate, like you have to do immediately. You have to start utilizing your blessing or helping people immediately. You may have to wait for the Lord's timing, his timing, and not ours. So think about those things too. Reading over this first section, what kind of thoughts or feelings come to your mind? How does it make you feel, and what does it make you think? Let's continue to read. Jehoiada brought out the king's son and put the crown on him. He presented him with a copy of the covenant and proclaimed him king. They anointed him, and the people clapped their hands and shouted, "Long live the king." When Azaria heard the noise made by the guards and the people, she went to the people at the temple of the Lord. She looked, and there was the king standing by the pillar, as the custom was. The officers and the trumpeters were beside the king, and all the people of the land were rejoicing and blowing trumpets. Then Azaria tore her robes and called out, "Treason! Treason!" So remember, they stole him away, and Azaria was the leader of the land, ruled the land for 6 years. So he was like a year, so now he's around 7. So that's why. So he's older now instead of an infant. Let's continue to read. Jehoiada the priest ordered the commanders of units of 100 who were in charge of the troops, bring her out between the ranks and put to the sword anyone who follows her. For the priests had said, she must not be put to death in the temple of the Lord. So they seized her as she reached the palace or she reached the place where the horses enter the palace grounds, and there she was put to death. Jehoiada then made a covenant between the Lord and the king and people that they would be the Lord's people. He also made a covenant between the king and the people. All the people of the land went to the temple of Baal and tore it down. They smashed the altars and idols to pieces and killed Mattan, the priest of Baal, in front of the altars. Then Jehoiada, the priest, posted guards at the temple of the Lord. He took with him the commanders of hundreds, the Karites, the guards, and all the people of the land, and together they brought the king down from the temple of the Lord and went into the palace, entering by the way of the gate of the guards. The king then took his place on the royal throne, and all the people of the land rejoiced, and the city was quiet, because Athaliah had been slain with the sword at the palace. Joash was 7 years old when he began to reign. So, till then, all these leaders, including Athaliah, were worshiping these Baals, and bad things were happening to Israel. They were being invaded. They were having wars. They were having famines and such. And so, finally, this priest and the people got together, and they were able to overthrow Athaliah and put someone back, and then also make a covenant with the Lord regarding, following the Lord and following the commands and following the law. And so that's what we're seeing right now. And this again is we're in the Old Testament, and a time where Israel was the the Lord was living, amongst Israel, and the Israel was supposed to be his people, but as we can see, they had commonly rejected him at this point. But there were still people. There were still people bringing past that believed in the Lord, bringing past to present. When you feel like there is, like you're the only one, think about the Lord can reveal. Pray for revealing, for revelation from the Lord to help strengthen you. Pray for strength. Pray for wisdom. And you do have brothers and sisters out here that are of the family of the Lord, of family of Christ. So bringing past to present, what kind of thoughts or feelings come to your mind when we read about this? How does it make you feel, and what does it make you think? Let's continue to read. Joash repairs the temple. In the 7th year of Jihu, Joash became king, and he reigned in Jerusalem 40 years. His mother's name was Zebiah. She was from Beersheba. Joash did what was right in the eyes of the Lord all the years Jehoiada the priest instructed him. Take note of that. The high places, however, were not removed. The people continued to offer sacrifices and burnt incense there. Joash said to the priests, "Collect all the money that is brought as sacred offering to the temple of the Lord, the money collected in the census, the money received from personal vows, and the money brought voluntarily to the temple. Let every priest receive the money from one of the treasuries, and let it be used to repair whatever damage is found in the temple." But by the 23rd year of King Joash, the priests still had not repaired the temple. So that just goes to show that the priests were supposed to be utilizing these funds to make repairs, and they weren't. So what were they doing with that money? More than likely, they were hoarding it. They were utilizing it. Getting rich off of it. Trying to use the Lord to increase their profits, maybe. Sound a little familiar? Bring it past the present. I'm just saying, what are your thoughts and feelings about this? How does it make you feel, and what does it make you think? Let's continue to read. But by the 23rd year of King Joash, the priest still had not repaired the temple. Therefore, King Joash summoned Jehoiada, the priest, and the other priests, and asked them, "Why aren't you repairing the damage done to the temple? Take no more money from your treasures, but hand it over for repairing the temple." The priests agreed that they would not collect any more money from the people, and that they would not repair the temple themselves. Jehoiada the priest took a chest and bored a hole in its lid. He placed it beside the altar on the right side as one enters the temple of the Lord. The priests who guarded the entrance put into the chest all the money that was brought to the temple of the Lord. Whenever they saw that there was a large amount of money in the chest, the royal secretary and the high priest came, counted the money that had been brought into the temple of the Lord, and put it into bags. When the amount had been determined, they gave the money to the men appointed to supervise the work on the temple. With it, they paid those who worked on the temple of the Lord, the carpenters and builders, the masons and stone cutters. They purchased timber and dressed stone for the repair of the temple of the Lord, and met all the other expenses of restoring the temple. Again, remember, Israel had been in the promised land for a while now, for generation after generation, and then they weren't steadily maintaining the Lord's temple because they had fallen away. So at this time, this is a renewal. This is a time where they're renewing the temple and actually utilizing it and actually trying to repair it. So it says a lot. Let's continue to read. The money brought into the temple was not spent for making silver basins, wick trimmers, sprinkle bowls, trumpets, or any other articles of gold or silver for the temple of the Lord. It was paid to the workmen who used it to repair the temple. They did not require an accounting for those to whom they gave the money to pay the workers, because they acted with complete honesty. Isn't that nice? I want to read this part again. They did not require an accounting for those to whom they gave the money to pay the workers, because they acted with complete honesty, bringing past to present. Is it easy for us to be able to pay people for honest work, and vice versa. Is it easy for someone to pay us for honest work? Think about it. Think about it in our lives. Think about it. I hear all the time, it's hard to come by honest work these days. I wonder why. Always pray about it too. Always, when you're in a situation, pray about it. Give it to the Lord. Let Him reveal, let Him strengthen you and give you the answer and find courage. What are your thoughts and feelings when we read about this? How does it make you feel, and what does it make you think? Let's continue to read. The money from the guilt offerings and sin offerings was not brought into the temple of the Lord. It belonged to the priests. About this time, Hazael, king of Aram, went up and attacked Gath and captured it. Then he turned to attack Jerusalem. But Joash, king of Judah, took all the sacred objects dedicated by his fathers, Jehoshaphat, Joram, and Azaria, the kings of Judah, and the gifts he himself had dedicated, and all the gold found in the treasuries of the temple of the Lord and of the royal palace, and he sent them to Hazael, king of Aram, who then withdrew from Jerusalem. So we're starting to see that the current king it's not even saying that he went to the Lord. He just kind of took what he saw as things that he can make payment to the king of Aram, or like a tribute, and pay them to him so that he would stop instead of seeking the Lord. So we can see that there's kind of still something off, something quite not right. Let's continue to read. As for the other events of the reign of Joash and all he did, are they not written in the book of the annals of the kings of Judah? His officials conspired against him and assassinated him at Beth Milo on the road down to Syria. The officials who murdered him were Jozabad, son of Shemeth, and Jehozabad, son of Shomer. He died and was buried with his fathers in the city of David, and Amaziah, his son, succeeded him as king. So, as you can see, in his later years, he was able to rule for a while, but then it seems like he started slipping away himself. Probably more than likely that the priest that was helping him had already passed, and so he really must have not really found his own courage or his own willingness to follow the Lord. So he started doing things such as just doing things on his own, and so much so that he ended up being killed. What kind of thoughts or feelings come to your mind when we read over this? How does it make you feel, and what does it make you think? And so, yes, if you haven't noticed, I have experienced a little bit of allergies. It's now the end of summer, going to be fall or autumn very soon, and so this is the fall time of allergies, basically. They kicked back in. Darn it. Let's continue to read. Joahaz, king of Israel. In the 23rd year of Joash, son of Ahaziah, king of Judah, Jehoahaz, son of Jihu, became king of Israel in Samaria, and he reigned 17 years. So now we're going from Judah back to Israel. Let's continue to read. He did evil in the eyes of the Lord by following the sins of Jeroboam, son of Nebat, which he had caused Israel to commit, and he did not turn away from them. So the Lord's anger burned against Israel, and for a long time he kept them under the power of Hazael, king of Aram, and Ben-Hadad, his son. So we just went from Judah, because it's all Israel, but Israel had split into two kingdoms at this point. One was one tribe, which is Judah, and the other tribes fell under the main umbrella of Israel. And so mostly the kings of Judah, they did follow the Lord, but as we had seen, some did not, unfortunately. And so, but in Israel, most of their kings, they didn't follow the Lord. They started worshiping the Baals and doing other things that the Canaanites had done in the land previously. And so, let's continue to read. Then Joahaz sought the Lord's favor, and the Lord listened to him. for he saw how severely the king of Aram was oppressing Israel. The Lord provided a deliverer for Israel, and they escaped from the power of Aram. So the Israelites lived in their own homes as they had before, but they did not turn away from the sins of the house of Jeroboam, which he had caused Israel to commit. They continued in them. Also, the Asherah pole remained standing in Samaria. So the Lord loves his people. And so the king, he must have humbled himself for a moment, asked the Lord for help. The Lord helped them, and they went. And then after the king of Aram and all the their enemies were left them alone, they went right on back. They went right on back. And that's something that we don't want to do, bringing past to present, is when we do things and we humble ourselves and we ask for forgiveness, we don't want to continue a cycle of doing it over and over again. We want to be free of that. And that's why the Lord sent his son to die on the cross for us, to be free of those things. So think about that in our lives. What kind of thoughts or feelings come to your mind as we read over this? How does it make you feel, and what does it make you think? Let's continue to read. Nothing had been left of the army of Joahaz except 50 horsemen, 10 chariots, and 10,000 foot soldiers, for the king of Aram had destroyed the rest and made them like the dust at threshing time. As for the other events of the reign of Joahaz, all he did and his achievements, are they not written in the book of the annals of the kings of Israel? Jehoahaz rested with his fathers and was buried in Samaria, and Joash, his son, succeeded him as king. So now that Jehoahaz, he didn't do what was right in the Lord's sight, but then humbled himself, and like we just mentioned, the Lord loved Israel so much that he helped them out, but they still did not continue to follow the Lord's commands. And so now Jehoahaz is passed and his son is reigning in his place. And so what kind of thoughts or feelings come to your mind over this? How does it make you feel, and what does it make you think? Let's continue to read. Joash, king of Israel. In the 37th year of Joash, king of Judah, Joash, son of Jehoahaz, became king of Israel in Samaria, and he reigned 16 years. He did evil in the eyes of the Lord and did not turn away from any of the sins of Jeroboam, son of Nebat, which he had caused Israel to commit. He continued in them. So again, reminder, the kings were, both of Israel and Judah were compared to previous kings. If they were a good king, they were compared to David. If they were a bad king, so good king compared to David, because they worshiped the Lord, they did what was right in the Lord's sight. More than likely, there was blessings and peace during that reign, mostly. And then if they were not following the Lord, they were compared to Jeroboam, who ended up with the kingship of Israel when the Lord took from the kingdom from the line of David and split it. And so Jeroboam came, and unfortunately he worshiped the other gods, and he did not do what was right in the Lord's sight. So now the kings who don't follow the Lord, they're compared to Jeroboam. And so that's what we're seeing once again here. Let's continue to read. As for the other events of the reign of Joash, all he did and his achievements, including his war against Amaziah, king of Judah, are they not written in the book of the annals of the kings of Israel? Joash rested with his fathers, and Jeroboam succeeded him on the throne. Joash was buried in Samaria with the kings of Israel. Now Elijah was suffering from the illness from which he died. Joash, king of Israel, went down to see him and wept. So that's an important part. Like I said, that's an important part. That the king went down to see Elijah. He went down to see Elijah when he was sick. And so let's continue to read. Now Elijah again was suffering from illness, from which he died. Joash, king of Israel, went down to see him and wept over him. My father, he cried, the chariots and horsemen of Israel. Elijah said, get a bow and some arrows, and he did so. Take the bow in your hands, he said to the king of Israel. When he had taken it, Elisha put his hands on the king's hands. Open the east window, he said, and he opened it. Okay, so take note of this part too, because this is very important. Shoot, Elijah said, and he shot. The Lord's arrow of victory, the arrow of victory over Aram. Elisha declared, you will completely destroy the Arameans at Ephek. Then he said, take the arrows, and the king took them. Elisha told him, strike the ground. He struck it 3 times and stopped. The man of God was angry with him and said, you should have struck the ground 5 or 6 times. Then you would have defeated Aram and completely destroyed it. But now you will defeat it only 3 times. Elijah died and was buried. So even at death, Elijah was still worshiping, still following what the Lord was giving him, still guiding people, still helping people, all the way up to his death. And it was very important for the king of Israel, Joash, to do what the Lord was telling him to do through the words of the prophet. And yet he just kind of, he knew about Elijah. He knew that he followed the Lord, but he showed restraint. He showed that he didn't fully commit. And so what happened is that he wasn't going to fully destroy his enemies. And that's something that we can think about past to present. When we have issues, we need to fully commit to what the Lord is telling us to do and fulfill it, and not be half do it, or not really feel like we're committed to following what he has for us to do, to living with the word and understanding it and humbling ourselves and thanking him for that. Those are things that we can think about in our lives. What kind of thoughts or feelings come to your mind when we read over this? How does it make you feel, and what does it make you think? Okay, so let's continue to read. Now, Moabite raiders used to enter the country every spring. Once, while some Israelites were burying a man, suddenly they saw a band of raiders, so they threw the man's body into Elijah's tomb. When the body touched Elijah's bones, the man came to life and stood up on his feet. Even after death, Elijah's bones, because Elijah followed the Lord and was a prophet, holy, even his bones, he'll revive someone from death back to life. It's amazing. Take note about that. It's one of those instances in the Bible where somebody was revived to life, even though the thing that they came in contact with was not alive. Think about those things. Let's continue to read. Hazael, king of Aram, oppressed Israel throughout the reign of Jehoahaz, but the Lord was gracious to them and had compassion and showed concern for them because of his covenant with Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. To this day, he has been unwilling to destroy them or banish them from his presence. Hazael, king of Aram, died, and Ben-Hadad, his son, succeeded him as king. Then Joash, son of Jehoahaz, recaptured from Ben-Hadad, son of Hazael, the towns he had taken in battle from his father Jehoahaz. 3 times Joash defeated him, and so he recovered the Israelite towns. And so what came to life, and what came part of what actually happened, was Israel did defeat. They defeated their enemies 3 times and were able to take back the lands that were lost to them. So the prophecy came true, as it would, as it should, as it will. Think about that. When what the Lord says, when he tells us something, it's going to happen. Think about it in our lives, past to present. When the Lord tells us something, and we have a little bit of doubt, we have a little bit, pray about it. Give it to the Lord and say, hey, Please strengthen my 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 reliance on you. Strengthen my will to understand and rely on you, Lord. That's what we can do. We can our own. We can always pray for our own strength, and we can also pray for others too, as well, for them to believe as well and have faith. So there's a lot here. There is quite a bit here, and over what we've read today, what kind of thoughts or feelings come to your mind? How does it make you feel, and what does it make you think? Let's continue to read. Amaziah, king of Judah. In the second year, so we're going back to Judah. In the second year of Joash, son of Jehoahaz, king of Israel, Amaziah, son of Joash, king of Judah, began to reign. He was 25 years old when he became king, and he reigned in Jerusalem 29 years. His mother's name was Jehoadin. She was from Jerusalem. He did what was right in the eyes of the Lord, but not as his father David had done. In everything, he followed the example of his father Joash. The high places, however, were not removed. The people continued to offer sacrifices and burn incense there. So, Amaziah is someone who followed after the Lord, but he allowed for other worship basically to happen. I'm going to add some more light throughout Israel, unfortunately. So even though he followed the Lord, not everybody in Judah at that time was following the Lord. So he didn't take down the high places. He didn't take down the other things that would and should have been taken down. And there's always a reason for things as to why these leaders, these people who were put, weren't doing things, and what the consequences of their actions lead to. Let's continue to read. Okay. After the kingdom was firmly in his grasp, he executed the officials who had murdered his father, the king. Yet he did not put the sons of the assassins to death, in accordance with what is written in the book of the law of Moses, where the Lord commanded, "Fathers shall not be put to death for their children, nor children put to death for their fathers. Each is to die for his own sins." Now this is so, okay. So this is something that we can think about past to present, including us. Now, a lot of times we help people. We try to help people, or we want to help people, and we also want help too, right? But what I'm talking about is when we help people, and I'm not talking about unfortunate circumstances for people. What I'm talking about is people who put themselves in a situation, who did something wrong, such as a sin, knowingly. Okay, so let's think about it in a certain way. Gotta put some parameters, right? When we help them and such, we to pray for them. We to pray for ourselves, pray for them as well, and give it to and also give it to the Lord. What we don't want to do is take what their guilt, their feeling of sin upon us, upon yourself. So you don't want to feel that sin. You don't want to feel the guilt of that sin. Including if you feel like you're failing at helping somebody, because sometimes things happen for a reason, and we want to make sure that we are fully relying on the Lord, fully in prayer, fully find strength in our walk with the Lord, and do what we can for each other, for our brethren. We are to love each other. as ourselves. Everybody still has a choice, though. Everybody still has a choice whether or not they want to be helped, right? Like in psychology and such, they always say, people who want to be, or there's people who want help, and then there's people who want help because they also are trying to help themselves, right? When it comes to in life, we want to help people, but they also have a choice in that help as to whether or not to accept the help, whether or not to not continue to make their situation worse, or continue with doing things that aren't good, or sin acts, or whatever it may be. And so to leave it to the Lord, and don't take that upon yourself, because that is something, for instance, that is something that that God has sent his son for. God has sent his son to forgive, right? And so we are to trust and believe that, and understand that. So, and if you do get to that point where you're feeling like you're failing or something, think about it. Maybe even pull yourself back from it for a moment and pray about it and refocus. And because it may not be something it may be one of those things that you're forcing to try to make possible, make happen, make better, do it yourself. And you're not really thinking like, okay, A, B, C, I'm missing D, E, F, G, I'm missing the rest of the alphabet, and I'm just trying to jump to Z. Or there's just a lot to it. There's a lot to it. And so you don't want to feel like you're taking on somebody else's sin, or it's your responsibility for something, especially because sometimes people don't have involvement, but they are trying to help each other. We are trying to help each other. And that is what we are to do. We are to love each other as ourselves. We are trying to help each other out ourselves. What I'm saying, though, is when things still aren't going right, take a moment, even take that person or take that situation to the side and bring in the Lord. Bring the Lord with it. Bring the Lord with it, because then, and they can even say, look, I want to help or whatever, but really my thought process isn't there. I don't believe, or I'm, such and such, leave me alone or whatever. Okay. Don't feel like a failure. I've been there. I have been there. I broke down. I've been there. It's hard. It's difficult. It may be because I'm not the person. I'm not the person, or we are not the person. You are not the person. I'm not the person to help them in that situation, or to show them. They may have to see it on their own, but we all have a choice. We all have a choice, and what we are to do is to do our best and encourage others and show love. Show what this book is, which is love. What God gave us, and what he does, and how he loves us, and how Jesus loves us so much that he gave his life for us. And so continue to pray about it. Do what you can. Take a moment. You may even have to take a step back from the situation. You may find another way, or find something else, or pray. God, place something in their path to help them understand, to help them be relieved of their situation, or healing, or whatever it may be. There's so much here with that. And that's, it's one of those things that when I was reading over this, I was like, this is a perfect example that I was thinking about today, throughout, or whenever, especially when I read this portion. So with that, right, it's a lot. What kind of thoughts or feelings come to your mind? How does it make you feel, and what does it make you think? Let's continue to read. Oh, and there always can be disagreements in the word too. Always, 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 especially when we're all trying to grow in wisdom. We're all trying to understand. And the best thing to do when there are disagreements and such is to give it to the Lord, to seek the Lord and pray about it and lean in, lean in. All right, so let's continue to read. And you know I lost my place. So I believe he was really okay. So I'm just going to read back to this portion in 5. After the kingdom was firmly in his grasp, he executed the officials who had murdered his father, the king. Yet he did not put the son. Okay, so we read that whole portion. I remember now. So the next paragraph. Number 7. He was the one who defeated 10,000 Edomites in the valley of Saul. Wait, hold on. Okay, yeah. He was the one who defeated 10,000 Edomites in the Valley of Saul and captured Selah in battle, calling it Joktheel, the name it has to this day. Then Amaziah sent messengers to Joash, son of Jehoahaz, the son of Jihu, king of Israel, with the challenge, come, meet me face to face. So Amaziah is feeling kind of, tough. He's kind of feeling like, yeah, Lord's helping me do this. Lord's helping me do that. But he may have sent this letter as a sense of pompous and arrogancy. I'm not sure. I believe he didn't go to the Lord before sending this type of letter to the king of Israel. So let's continue to read. But Joash, king of Israel, replied to Amaziah, king of Judah, a thistle in Lebanon sent a message to a cedar in Lebanon. Give your daughter to my son in marriage. Then a wild beast in Lebanon came along and trampled the thistle underfoot. You have indeed defeated Edom, and now you are arrogant. Glory in your victory, but stay at home. Why ask for trouble and cause your own downfall and that of Judah also? So the reply is really sticking it to him. It's really like, there's a little bit of an insult in there, it's a little bit of pettiness. Insult, like, oh, so now you're a little bug and you think that you can take, a bear on or something, something big, and don't, that's kind of what the king of Israel is kind of telling him. Be happy that you made a really, had a really good victory, but don't try, don't try to bring it up to me or whatever. So let's continue to read. Amaziah, however, would not listen. So Joash, king of Israel, attacked. He and Amaziah, king of Judah, faced each other at Beth Shemesh in Judah. Judah was routed by Israel, and every man fled to his home. Joash, king of Israel, captured Amaziah, king of Judah, the son of Joash, the son of Azaria, at Beth Shemesh. Then Joash went to Jerusalem and broke down the wall of Jerusalem from the Ephraim gate to the corner gate, a section about 600 feet long. He took all the gold and silver and all the articles found in the temple of the Lord and in the treasuries of the royal palace. He also took hostages and returned to Samaria. So, more than likely, so we're learning that no, this is not what the king of Judah was supposed to do. So, unfortunately, the king of Israel routed him. Let's continue to read. As for the other events of the reign of Joash, what he did in his achievements, including his war against Amaziah, king of Judah, are they not written in the book of the annals of the kings of Israel? Joash rested with his fathers and was buried in Samaria with the kings of Israel, and Jeroboam, his son, succeeded him as king. Amaziah, son of Joash, king of Judah, lived for 15 years after the death of Joash, son of Jehoahaz, king of Israel. As for the other events of Amaziah's reign, are they not written in the book of the annals of the kings of Judah? They conspired against him in Jerusalem, and he fled to Lachish. But they sent men after him to Lachish and killed him there. He was brought back by a horse and was buried in Jerusalem with his fathers in the city of David. Then all the people of Judah took Azaria, who was 16 years old, and made him king in the place of his father Amaziah. He was the one who rebuilt Elath and restored it to Judah after Amaziah rested with his fathers. So Amaziah didn't do what he was. He did what he wanted to do, which is attack Israel, and so it failed, and he ended up being captured, and then tried to flee, and then was killed. So, and now we know that Israel has taken all the treasuries from, I want to say, because it's in Judah, so the temple, is it the forest or something? The temple that Solomon had originally, I believe it's the temple, please correct me if I'm wrong, to the Lord, and now Israel's taken that to Samaria. And so, what kind of thoughts or feelings come to your mind when we read over this? How does it make you feel, and what does it make you think? Let's continue to read. Jeroboam II, or Jeroboam II, king of Israel. In the 15th year of Amaziah, son of Joash, king of Judah, Jeroboam, son of Joash, king of Israel, became king in Samaria, and he reigned 41 years. He did evil in the eyes of the Lord, and did not turn away from any of the sins of Jeroboam, son of Nebat, which he had caused Israel to commit. He was the one who restored the boundaries of Israel from Lebo Hamath to the sea of the Arba, in accordance with the word of the Lord, the God of Israel, spoken through his servant Jonah, son of Amittai, the prophet from Gath Hephar. Take note, this is another person. Jonah. Ring a bell, anybody? Jonah. Who is this Jonah? Could this be Jonah, the one with the whale? Please correct me if I'm wrong. We'll read about him later on, right? So take note. Oh, it's another person. Jonah, servant. So I'm going to read this portion again. So this, he was the one who restored. So this other king, Jeroboam II, he was the one who restored, I believe it's Jeroboam II. He was the one who restored the boundaries of Israel from Lebo Hamath to the sea of the Araba, in accordance with the word of the Lord, the God of Israel, spoken through his servant Jonah, son of Amittai, the prophet from Gath Hephar. So the prophet. We'll read about Jonah too. Why? Jonah is a prophet, right? So why Jonah and the whale? We'll find out more later on. To be continued. You have to stick around, right? Let's continue to read. The Lord had seen how bitterly everyone in Israel, whether slave or free, was suffering. There was no one to help them. And since the Lord had not said he would blot out the name of Israel from under heaven, he saved them by the hand of Jeroboam, son of Joash. So God can use anybody. The Lord can use anybody. Anyone. Think about that. And he loves Israel. He hadn't decided to remove them yet. He loved his people. This Old Testament, during the Old Testament, under the law. He loved his people. He made a covenant. He had not decided that fully that they were continuing to go, even though they were continuing to go downhill, he was not ready for them to lose, be out of the promised land. And so, let's continue to read. As for the other events of Jeroboam's reign, all he did, and his military achievements, including how he recovered for Israel both Damascus and Hamath, which had belonged to Yadi. Yadi. Are they not written in the book of the annals of the kings of Israel? Jeroboam rested with his fathers, the kings of Israel, and Zechariah his son succeeded him as king. Interesting. I'm not sure. I don't think this is Zechariah, the book of Zechariah. Not that. I'm not sure. I'll have to double check on that. I'll check on that and bring it. I don't think it is. So anyways, If it is, please correct me. But we'll get to his book later on. But I don't think it's this Zechariah, but anyways. There's a lot of people who are named the same over and over again, throughout the Bible. So now we know that the Lord, he hears Israel's cry. He sees that they just nothing was going right. So he was just like, I'm gonna here we go again, send somebody to help him out. And that's what he did. And that's what he does throughout history, past and present. Do you think he does that now? Absolutely. Absolutely. All kinds of ways. Open your eyes and see, and I pray that we do. What kind of thoughts or feelings come to your mind when we read this? How does it make you feel, and what does it make you think? Let's continue to read. Azaria, king of Judah. In the 27th year of Jeroboam, king of Israel, Azaria, son of Amaziah, king of Judah, began to reign. He was 16 years old when he became king, and he reigned in Jerusalem 52 years. His mother's name was Jechaliah. She was from Jerusalem. He did what was right in the eyes of the Lord, just as his father Amaziah had done. The high places, however, were not removed. The people continued to offer sacrifices and burn incense there. So he wasn't compared to David, he was compared to his father. As you can see now, there's a little bit of separation. So they're either compared to Jeroboam, or they're compared to David, or they're compared to now Amaziah, or, not someone who was as faithful and zealous as David. And which same thing, faithful, following the way of the Lord. So let's continue to read. The Lord afflicted the king with leprosy until the day he died, and he lived in a separate house. Joram, the king's son, had charge of the palace and governed the people of the land. As for the other events of Azariah's reign and all he did, are they not written in the book of the annals of the kings of Judah? Azariah rested with his fathers and was buried near them in the city of David, and Jotham, his son, succeeded him as king. So Azariah, yes, he followed the Lord, but he was the ruler. That's like, people, when we read this, it was like, okay, people will read this and be like, okay, so he followed the Lord, but he had leprosy. Why? He had this illness. And then take a step back, because people were like, I already know, I can hear it, but he was following the Lord. Okay, he was the ruler of the Lord's people, and he himself was following the law, right? He was following the law. He was doing what was right in the Lord's sight. However, he was the ruler. He didn't stop all the other foreign stuff going on, the worshipings of the Baals and the Ashtaroths and the other stars, moons, whatever, other customs and other things that people were doing that were detestable acts. He didn't stop it. He was in charge. So was he punished eternally? I don't believe so. Was he not punished, but was he disciplined here on earth for not doing what he needed to do, which was be a full leader of Israel, like David, like others in past, Moses and such? Absolutely. Is he human, and does he do things that aren't appropriate? Sometimes, yes, because sin. However, was he to humble himself and really lead the people as the Lord saw fit? Yes, right? So think about those things. You have to kind of, it gives you like a blurb, like, and he had this, and then he died, right? But he did everything right, but he didn't do everything right, because if he did everything right, he would have really got behind and really dug in and really showed what it was to worship the Lord. And remember, you're in line. Those blessings come, and people want to know and want to be blessed as well, right? Think about those things in your life and my life. How does it make you feel, and what does it make you think? Let's continue to read. Zechariah, king of Israel. In the 38th year of Azariah, king of Judah, Zechariah, son of Jeroboam, became king of Israel and Samaria, and he reigned 6 months. Okay, so we're going back to Israel. And this is why I don't think this is Zechariah the other. This is not Zechariah the other Zechariah, because Zechariah the other Zechariah is going to do things that is not like this Zechariah. So let's continue to read. I know, I love it, right? He did evil in the eyes of the Lord, and his fathers, because he only reigned 6 months, right? He did evil in the eyes of the Lord, as his fathers had done. He did not turn away from the sins of Jeroboam, son of Nebat, which he had caused Israel to commit. Shallum, son of Jabesh, conspired against Zechariah. He attacked him in front of the people, assassinated him, and succeeded him as king. The other events of Zechariah's reign are written in the book of the annals of the kings of Israel. So the word of the Lord spoken to Jihu was fulfilled. Your descendants will sit on the throne of Israel to the 4th generation. Remember that? Remember that prophecy? Remember Jihu said, hey, you did what was right in the Lord, so you're going to have 4 generations, four generations to sit on the throne. And boom, it is complete. It is complete. So now all 4 generations, even though this last one was very short, because it was one of those things, wasn't following the Lord, didn't want to believe, etc., was determined not to believe, so short. And again, because I believe the Zechariah, I'm still on the Zechariah. I believe the Zechariah was the Zechariah that came after they were in Babylon or something, and they were coming back and they were rebuilding stuff. I think that, I'm not quite sure. I'm still slowly trying to piece it in my mind, because I'm not supposed to be on that. I'm supposed to be on this Bible study. Okay. So, okay, please correct me if I'm wrong, if you remember, you know. But as you can see, the Lord, you know, when it gets really bad, the Lord doesn't, I believe the Lord doesn't allow it to continue. You know, he's like, okay, let me fix this, or I'm going to do something, because this is one thing me and someone in my family always talk about is when we pass away, and how the Lord will, you know, just be like, okay, this is what you were supposed to look like, and here's your glorified body, and this is what you did. What happened? You know, like, that's what happened. You know, it's like, well, I tried. You know, like, you try doing what? You know, it's kind of like, it reminds me of those like old commercials, like I would say old commercials. I remember most, they were yesterday. This is your brain. This is your brain on crack. You know, and it's like messed up, and it's like, any questions? You know, it's like things to think about, right? What kind of thoughts or feelings come to your mind when we read over this? How does it make you feel, and what does it make you think? Let's continue to read. Shallum, king of Israel. Shallum, son of Jabesh, became king in the 39th year of Uzzah, king of Judah, and he reigned in Samaria 1 month. Then Menahem, son of Gidi, went from Tirzah up to Samaria. He attacked Shallum, son of Jabesh, in Samaria, assassinated him, and succeeded him as king. The other events of Shallum's reign and the conspiracy he led are written in the book of the annals of the kings of Israel. At that time, Menahem, starting out from Tirzah, attacked Tipsah and everyone in the city and its vicinity, because they refused to open their gates. He sacked Tipsah and ripped open all the pregnant women. Oof. This of Israel, because why? Because they were generation after generation after generation not following the Lord and not going with the covenant. Just disregarded it completely, and then doing what they wanted to do, worshiping other gods and such. I think we're gonna go over a little bit today. What kind of that's this Old Testament, and this just shows you just how humanity can get sometimes crazy, right? Just crazy. Think about those things. People think that there's some type of resistance sometimes to humans, to man, and their morality. And time and time again throughout history, you read something or you see something and it just makes you sick, right? It's just like, oh, why? How could devil straight up? It's sick because of they're yes, the person made the choice to go ahead and do the action. That's just straight up the devil saying, "Hey, do this. It's good. It's gonna be good for It's cool," and it's not. It's, as you can see, it's death and destruction. Sin leads to death. Period. In all disgusting forms and ways and inhumane things. Think about it. In our lives, past to present. I know you can. I know you can, especially today. There's things that happen today that are just downright horrific. 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 And we just need to continue to pray and follow the Lord and lean into Him. What kind of thoughts or feelings come to your mind? How does it make you feel, and what does it make you think? I know, I told a funny story and then boom, this seriousness. Let's continue to read. Menahem, king of Israel, in the 39th year of Azariah, king of Judah, Menahem, son of Gidi, became king of Israel, and he reigned in Samaria 10 years. He did evil in the eyes of the Lord. During his entire reign, he did not turn away from the sins of Jeroboam, son of Nebat, which he had caused Israel to commit. Then Pul, king of Assyria, here we go. Here we go. It's going to start. Okay, so one's going to be Assyria. So take notes of this. One's going to be Assyria, one's going to be Babylon. So start to take note, because this is, here we go. Okay. So then Pul, king of Assyria, invaded the land, and Menahem gave him 1,000 talents of silver to gain his support and strengthen his own hold on the kingdom. Menahem exacted his money from Israel. Every wealthy man had to contribute 50 shekels of silver to be given to the king of Assyria. So the king of Assyria withdrew and stayed in the land no longer. But they were given tribute. So this is it's just, you'll see. Let's continue to read. As for the other events of Menahem's reign and all he did, are they not written in the book of the annals of the kings of Israel? Menahem rested with his fathers, and Pekah, his son, succeeded him as king. So things are starting to go downhill pretty quickly. And take note of Assyria, because they're going to be a consequence coming real soon, because Israel's continuing not to follow the Lord. They want to do what they want to do. And then blaming the Lord. Remember how many times in the last Bible study that they were like, oh, the Lord caused all this catastrophe. Take a step back and look at what you did, right? That's what, past to present, we need to think about those things. Did we have any, when bad things happen to us, to you, to me, to people, there are circumstances where there's uncontrollables that, yes, there are circumstances where things bad happen and was out of control, right? But there are some instances where we did have a part in it. Think about it. And what kind of thoughts or feelings come to your mind? How does it make you feel, and what does it make you think? Let's continue to read. Pekah, king of Israel. In the 50th year of Azariah, king of Judah, Pekah, son of Menahem, became king of Israel in Samaria, and he reigned 2 years. Pekah did evil in the eyes of the Lord. He did not turn, you notice the pattern, he did not turn away from the sins of Jeroboam, son of Nebat, which he had caused Israel to commit. One of his chief officers, Pekah, son of Remaliah, conspired against him. Taking 50 men of Gilead with him, he assassinated Pekah along with Argob and in the citadel of the royal palace at Samaria. So Pekah killed Pekah and succeeded him as king. The other events of Pekah's reign, all he did, are written in the book of the annals of the kings of Israel. Short, 2 years. Once again, there's a pattern. Have you noticed anything? Israel, once again, doing evil in the Lord's sight. Their leader, which means all the people followed along. There may have been some people that worship the Lord, but when there's a leader that does not follow, tends to happen. People fall away. Think about that. Think about that in your lives and my life. In all kinds of places. What kind of thoughts or feelings come to your mind? How does it make you feel and what does it make you think? Let's continue to read. Pekah, king of Israel. In the 52nd year of Azaria, king of Judah, Pekah, son of Remaliah, became king of Israel and Samaria, and he reigned 20 years. He did evil in the eyes of the Lord. He did not turn away from the sins of Jeroboam, son of Nebat, which he had caused Israel to commit. In the time of Pekah, king of Israel, Tiglath-Pileser, king of Azaria, came and took Ijon, Abel-Beth-Maachah, Janoah, Kadesh, and Hazor. He took Gilead and Galilee, including all the land of Naphtali, and deported the people to Assyria. Then Hoshea, son of Elah, conspired against Pekah, son of Remaliah. He attacked and assassinated him, and then succeeded him as king in the 20th year of Jotham, son of Uzzah. As for the events of Pekah's reign and all he did, are they not written in the book of the annals of the kings of Israel? So it has begun. The land has started. So they first paid tribute, and now much of the land is starting to be taken into Assyria, and the people are being deported. Why? Because generation after generation, the Lord had made a covenant with them and saying, if you follow my commands, you follow the law, I will be with you, and you will be my people, and I will protect you. And generation after generation after generation after generation, if you haven't noticed the pattern, king after king after king, after they rejected the Lord already, saying that we don't need king, we want an earthly king. So the Lord gave him an earthly king. And all of it was going to happen anyways, because we have one king, and his name is Jesus, right? But we demand it in our time instead of the Lord's time sometimes. And sometimes the Lord will say, okay, you wanted this. Think about it, past to present. When you demand something, when you want something, when you lust after something, one thing's easy: money, greed, gluttony. Something to think about on today, right? Because some people say, oh, a lot of this stuff in the Bible is hard to bring. No. It's fairly easy. It's fairly easy when you really think about it. And in this case, there's a lot here. So generation after generation after generation, they didn't care. They didn't want to follow the Lord. They refused. They want to do what they want to do. So now they're starting to be taken from the promised land. The Lord giveth and the Lord taketh away. Think about it. And sometimes when you want something so bad and you beg the Lord and you nag at him, the Lord will say, okay, here you go. Here's what you wanted, right? It's not in my time. It's not what I wanted to give you. It's what you wanted, right? Think about those things. What kind of thoughts or feelings come to your mind? How does it make you feel and what does it make you think? Let's continue reading. Jotham, king of Judah. In the 2nd year of Pekah, son of Remaliah, king of Israel, Jotham, son of Uzziah, king of Judah, began to reign. He was 25 years old when he became king and reigned in Jerusalem 16 years. His mother's name was Jerusha, daughter of Zodak. He did what was right in the eyes of the Lord, just as his father Uzzah had done. The high places, however, were not removed. The people continued to offer sacrifices and burn incense there. Jotham rebuilt the upper gate of the temple of the Lord. As for the other events of Jotham's reign and what he did, are they not written in the book of the annals of the kings of Judah? In those days, the Lord began to send Rezin, king of Aram, and Pekah, son of Remaliah, against Judah. Jotham rested with his fathers and was buried with them in the city of David, the city of his father, and Ahaz, his son, succeeded him as king. So that take note of what that just said. In those days, the Lord began to send Rezin, king of Aram, and Pekah, son of Remlah, against Judah. The Lord sending these people. Why? Because Judah, yes, there's still the leaders following the Lord. Yes, there are people following the Lord, but they're not all fully committed. They're not all fully committed. So let the test begin. And as we can already know, Israel's already, they're losing land, and already people are being deported. Is Judah going to be next? Stay tuned to find out. What kind of thoughts or feelings come to your mind? How does it make you feel, and what does it make you think? Let's do a quick review. Whew, there's a lot here, right? Okay, we started with Azaria and Joash. Remember, Azaria became leader, queen. I believe it's queen because because other people died. She was like, yes, I'm going to take over, and I worship the Baals and stuff. And then she had the royal family murdered. But once Josh was saved and placed for 6 years in the temple, and then they made him king, and the priest was able to protect him, and Jehoiada, and then they were able to and then Jehoiada with the people made another covenant with the Lord, and Athaliah was killed. Then Joash repairs the temple, and we see that the people were not spending the money or using money for the temple. They were just the priests. Interesting, right? We're using it for themselves. Greed is the thing. Greed is the thing. We're all human. And when you don't follow what the Lord has, no matter who you are, think about it. Jehoash, king of Israel. So then we start going back and forth between Judah and Israel again. And Jehoash, they were doing evil Lord's sight. Joash, king of Israel. But every now and then they would do one or two things, and the Lord would send a prophet, or the Lord would send them, relieve them of their enemies and such. And so, even they knew God, they knew the Lord, they just didn't want to do it. So, but one of the kings went to at least Elijah and was like, "Look, I know you're a man, you're a holy man. I know I'm messing up." And so Elijah told him, okay, this is what the Lord was still utilizing. And so much so that when Elijah died, even his bones revived somebody. Take note of that. Amaziah, king of Judah, got to Amaziah, king of Judah. He, again, did what was right in the eyes of the Lord, but he didn't take away those high places. He didn't take away all those other stuff that was going on. And Azaria, king of Judah, another one, did what was right, but didn't take away those high places and such. Oh, I skipped over Jeroboam the second. Of course, didn't do what was right in the eyes of the Lord, but he did, because everything was going so bad. Jonah, who we're going to find out later on in another Bible study in the future about Jonah and what he did and how he got there. Then Zechariah, king of Israel, how he reigned really short time. And that was the last of the fourth generation of rulers of this family. And so that fulfilled that, right? And then Shalom, king of Israel. And again, another person didn't do right in the Lord's sight. Menahem, king of Israel, another person. Pekahiah, another person. Pekah, another person. Notice this pattern over and over again. Jotham, king of Judah, did what was right in the eyes of the Lord. So, reading over today's Bible study, what kind of thoughts or feelings come to your mind? How does it make you feel, and what does it make you think? Thank you so much once again for joining in another Lamp Bible study. I hope and pray that we continue to seek the Lord's wisdom together in His holy word. I hope that you were able to get something from this, Lord. Like every time I read the Bible, every time I read the holy word, the Bible, I get something different. Every single time it speaks to me differently. I truly believe this is wisdom beyond our own comprehensions. This is the past, present, the future, and there's just so much here. And it's the living word, because it's because we have a living God. We do. We have a living God. Pray to him, seek him, thank him, you know. And if this is your first time, if you don't know there's the Lord, try it. Try it. Think about some things. I know, even in the Bible, you know, it's one of those things people, testing God. He's real. He's there. He is love and he loves you. He wants you to know that. And think about that. Take a step back and think about things in your life, how things went, how things are going. Say a prayer. Think about it. And Bible study, this lamp Bible study, you feel free to leave comments, suggestions and such in the comment section. There is on the YouTube page as well as Instagram page. There is an email contact on the YouTube page as well. If you want to do more with Lamp Bible Study, you can always reach out. There's an email on the contact page on the YouTube channel. Highlights come out throughout the week as well as flashlights on Friday. And with that, another exciting Bible study. Until next time, wherever you are, have a blessed morning, a blessed day, a blessed afternoon, a blessed evening, a blessed night. God bless.